going door to door selling encyclopedias during that semester instead of studying. And I didn't drop the courses, so didn't perform very well. So I actually skipped a semester, and that skipping the semester automatically got rid of your college deferment from the military. So I got smart pretty quickly. Said, well, I'm not going to get rich quick selling encyclopedias. I went back to school for a semester, but at the end of that semester, I got my draft notice. And I said, you're going into the Army, and went to Fort Polk, Louisiana for my basic training. And those drill sergeants, boy, did they teach me a thing or two. My basic personality, of course, didn't change, but the shyness that I had going into the military was totally gone by the time I got through with basic training. And they actually brought a part of me that I didn't know existed. I used to go hide when relatives would come to visit us because I was so shy. I'd go hide in the closet and, well, spend a couple of years in the Army, and that shyness is thrown out the window. So I really did learn a lot, and actually it was in the Army that I was exposed to medicine. And I was trained as a pharmacy tech, initially as a medic, and then pharmacy tech. Stationed at a small hospital at White Sands Missile Range, I got to know the surgeons fairly well, and very quickly realized that they weren't much smarter than me. As a matter of fact, I wondered how they got through medical school, but gave me the confidence of wait a minute, if they can do it, I think I can do it. And I went back to San Antonio College after getting out of the Army. Went to Alice Chacon, the other person who influenced my life. She's a counselor. She saw my grades. She was my counselor before I went to the Army, and now she was my counselor after. And she said, "What do you want to do, Martin?" And I said, "Well, I want to go to medical school." And of course, she looked at my grades and saw my GPA and said, "Well, are you sure?" And I said, yes, I'm very sure. That's what I want to do. I'm committed to it." And she could have done she could have done something other than what she did. She could have discouraged me. She could have told me that there's no way that I could go from this GPA to an acceptable GPA for medical school, and instead led me in another direction. But she did not do that. She asked me a couple of questions. She realized that I was committed, and then from there on, she did everything she could to help me. And certainly, one of the things she said was that you had to get straight A's, maybe 1B here or there, if I wanted to get the GPA that I needed to even qualify to apply. And I said, all right, let's do that. I can do that. And she helped along the way. And then I went to Trinity University, where I graduated. I spent 2 years at San Antonio College and then 2 years at Trinity. Working my way through school, I needed some help. I came back from the military, knowing what I wanted to do, but needing to work pretty much full-time while I went to school. And Frank Lombardino was a person who instilled quite a bit. I sometimes think I need to pay him back somehow. He died a few years ago. But he instilled this thing called politics into my bloodstream. And I tell people, interest in politics is an infectious disease. There's no cure, and you might go into remission occasionally and not be interested, but it always comes back. And Mr. Lombardino is who taught me that. I worked for his company. He owned a collection agency. And can you imagine any worse job than sitting there calling my grandmother? I mean, all I could think of is my grandmother. Pay that $3 bill you didn't pay, the phone bill. I hated it. But I saw a lot of activity going on in his office that looked kind of intriguing. I learned that he was a state representative, and all that activity that was going on there. I said, I think that is more fun than me calling people about the collection problems. So he recognized that I was interested, took me under his wing, and when he decided to run for the state senate, after he had served as a state representative for, I think it was 4 or 5 terms, I was very involved with that campaign. It was probably one of the fiercest campaigns that if you can imagine the colorful politics that occurred in San Antonio. It was a tough campaign, and it was not popular at that time to be on the conservative end of the spectrum, which he was. All of my friends at school were on a much more liberal side of the spectrum. So I was in a very unpopular situation helping him, and actually representing him several times when he couldn't go to do a talk. I'd But he did help me a lot so I could earn my way through school and, of course, instill the idea of politics. I think the point that I would tell the students is that you can't do anything, you can't accomplish anything in life without very key, important people around you. And they're around you all the time. I think the challenge for all of us is to recognize them. Now, you may not realize it at the time. You think about them later and realize how important they were to your life. But if we can just remind the kids on an ongoing basis, there's a lot of opportunity around you. We have to teach you how to find it. There's a lot of important people around you. We have to teach you how to take advantage of them. They want you to take advantage of them. And I think what you all do here is a perfect example of that. And I agree with you that we need to raise the profile in the community. I think you have an event going on tomorrow, Saturday night. That I think will help that a lot. And what you're doing at Humble High School is very, very good. But you cannot do it by yourself. There's always very important people that will help you. And of course, when they help you, they help themselves because we get a lot of reward, from helping people. I could go on talking for a long time. I'm interested in a lot of things. I've done my medical practice. I've run for office. I was the founder of Kingwood Medical Center back in '89 when we opened that facility, and we sold it to Columbia about 3 years after we opened it. I've been involved on several boards, both medical and non-medical, in the community. I was the founder of this chapter of the American Heart Association. Been involved in several businesses. The most recent has been Third Coast Bank, which we opened at the worst time. People would think that you could open a bank, but it turns out it's the best time because we didn't have any toxic assets, so we could lend money. We just got lucky and opened at the right time. And we opened in February. It'll be 2 years ago, and we have 4 branches, and it's doing very well. And of course, the medical practice, that's my life. And just about 4 years ago, I decided to have some fun and branch out into aesthetic medicine. So in addition to my family practice, we do the Botox and the Juvederm and the tumescent liposuction, which is all fun stuff. And I know people want to talk about that, and you can ask questions about that if you'd like. But I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, tell us about your political future.
Yeah. Well, I ran for state representative 2 years ago when Joe Crabb he had announced he was not going to run again, and he changed his mind. I decided I'd already invested some time and interest in it, so I went ahead and ran and didn't win. It's very tough to be an incumbent. However, I knew that he was probably going to be retiring soon. He's been our state representative for 18 years, and I thought, well, I'll run, even if I don't win, at least build up a little bit name ID. And sure enough, he decided this year that he was not going to run for re-election, and I decided to run for it again. We did fairly well. It always surprises me how few people turn out to vote, and that was the presidential year. I mean, we had a fairly significant turnout, but as a percentage of the population, it still was low. We had 12,000 people vote in the state representative district. Joe Crabb won with about 7,000 votes. I got about 4,500 votes. So not a bad showing, but not enough to win. But at least it's a base. And now we start this election with that base, and hopefully we can make it grow. It's that disease called politics that has come out of remission. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, I'm a little ignorant about that. It's going to be a primary?
Yes, it's a primary, and I'm running in the Republican primary, which will be in March. There's so far 4 people who have announced running for that office, and that's very typical. When there's not an incumbent, a lot of people decide to run, and there may be even more. So whoever doesn't get 50%, if one person doesn't get 50% in the March primary, there's a runoff a month later in April among the top 2 vote getters. So most likely there'll be a runoff, and most likely I'll be in the runoff.